Brian Broaddus, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. Super excited to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Savannah. Thank you. You're in a place where I want to be. You're at training camp, and here I'm in Dallas, Texas, wishing I was sitting right where you are right now. How about that?
Oh, absolutely. I will say today was the first day we had a little bit of rain here in Oxnard this morning, and
Oh,
it was just a magical little morning for the
there you
5 minutes
go.
of rain.
It doesn't happen very often. I was one of the originals that went to Oxnard in the early 2000s after some of the experiences we had in Wichita Falls and San Antonio and all that. And that I couldn't imagine a better place to practice football than Oxnard, California. And it's very rare that you get rain. So congratulations. You got to experience something that doesn't happen very often there.
Brian, wanted to kind of go over, give me a rundown of your background with the Cowboys. How long have you been reporting on the Cowboys from the scouting side and DallasCowboys.com?
Yeah, I really, I owe the Jones family a great bit of gratitude for. They've actually given me two careers. In 1999, they hired me as a scout working in pro personnel, coming from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Growing up in Dallas, growing up a Cowboys fan, it was a dream come true. I had, we had 3 seasons where it wasn't the success that we needed, and working with Bill Parcells, learned a lot there, but then it came to an end in 2005, and so I was done as a scout. Then I had a son just born, and he and his mom and I just needed to be around for him, so I really couldn't take any other jobs. And so now I had to kind of pivot into the media side of things, and got very fortunate to work with ESPN Dallas. Then Derek Eagleton, who's done a great job with DallasCowboys.com,
Mhm.
was able to say, "Hey, listen, I see what you're doing there. Would you be interested in coming over and working with us at DallasCowboys.com?" Jerry Jr. approved me working there, and was very fortunate to, like I say, have two careers. One as a scout, and then the years I spent with DallasCowboys.com, it got me to the level where I'm at currently, working with 105.3 The Fan, a show every day, 2 to 7, the G Bag Nation. All that prepared me being on that stage of the Dallas Cowboys, knowing, people knowing your name worldwide.
Mhm.
We went to London in 2014, and to meet fans over there that appreciated, to this day, still, there's people that have followed my work all around the world, Saudi Arabia, everywhere. I have people reach out to me all the time, and it's because of my work with the Cowboys and DallasCowboys.com that I was able to achieve a lot of the things I have in my career. And again, thanks to the Jones family for doing that for me.
What are you seeing going
Yeah.
into this football season?
Yeah, Santa, there's a lot of transition going on. And I always worried about this when I was working in scouting and personnel, was turnover on the coaching staff. And the best teams have continuity. The best teams have that ability to, they have the same coaches, the same players. Maybe, in the new, it's not new anymore, but the salary cap era of adding players, that you add the right mix of guys. And I think there's a lot of things, the Cowboys are, just looking at training camp, the last couple of weeks that I was there, the additions of Cooks and Gilmore, through trades, the draft of Mozzie Smith, Luke Schoonmaker, they've added some pieces,
Mhm.
and probably better pieces. But again, here's the transition of Mike McCarthy taking over as the primary play caller. Here is Brian Schottenheimer taking over as the offensive coordinator and influencing that way. Mike Solari as the offensive line coach, changing it, running back coach. There were so many changes on the offensive side of the ball that it gives you a little pause, because you're like, okay, can they overcome? The Philadelphia Eagles are dealing with similar things. They division rival, lose their
Mhm.
defensive coordinator, lose their offensive coordinator. There are the changes that you have to deal with. So the things you could add pieces, and the Cowboys, I think, have done a great job with that. Will McClay, Stephen Jones, those guys have done a great job. Adam Pacifica and contracts, getting digs done, trying to get more guys done. The Zach Martin thing is kind of a little bit of a headache right now. But overall, though, you feel like, though, just watching practice, that there's some things offensively for Dak that are going to be beneficial. I think some of the ways the scheme lends to him getting rid of the football quicker. What we call the bunch formations, guys together, tightly packed, scatter, running across the field, guys, pick routes, rub routes, whatever you want to call it. They're trying to separate their receivers. And we haven't seen that in the past. We haven't seen them take advantage of CeeDee Lamb's ability to run in open space. You look with Brandon Cooks, you look with Gallimore. These guys are, they're Turpin. They're trying to get these guys in space and run routes in a way to get them separation so Dak can get them the ball and then get up the field. It's been a big challenge for them so far, just because the defense is so good. But Dan Quinn, the additions that they've made over there, the players they've had have grown. Damone Clark at linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch. Boy, I tell you, they look like they're ready to play. The defensive line, again, I mentioned Mozzie Smith, Quentin Bohanna. They've got guys that are kind of elevating their game, and it's made it tough on the offense. But it's been a good camp for them. They don't have to go out and work against somebody because they're working against some of the best. And I think that's really, really helped the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. But I think it's also helped Dak Prescott. It's put a lot of pressure on him to have to make some quality throws against a very good defense.
I definitely feel, in my own personal opinion, out here, just the team's aura has just
Yeah.
been so great. I feel like this has just been a very stress-free type of camp, especially what I'm even seeing on the field. And there's obviously that stigma that we haven't won a Super Bowl in 27 years. Do you think that cloud kind of is over the team? Do you think that they are thinking about that when they're out there on the field?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because, when we won the Super Bowl in Green Bay was 96, which was after the Super Bowl that Dallas won in 95. And it seems like so long ago that we were in that Super Bowl in Green
Mhm.
Bay and used to compete against the Cowboys at such a high level. They were better than we were a lot of those years, the 92, 93, 94, 95 seasons. They were just so much better than us. And it's something that that I think the owners live with that. I think that, Jerry Jones, when you get to a certain age, and he's now 80 years old, and you realize that, I'm not going to have many more chances to do this. I think this is why Jerry was so interested in trying to play during the pandemic. He's because
Mhm.
Savannah, you don't get this many opportunities. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're just not. And the Jones family had great success in the early 90s. And it just seems like that it's been forever, that and the fan base frustration with them when I deal with them. I sense frustration with the ownership a little bit of not having the success that they should have had
Mhm.
and the opportunities they should have. And maybe there's some pressure on the head coach and the quarterback as well. Because the quarterback knows, and I'm talking with Dak Prescott about this, the quarterback knows that the legacy of the Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks, the Roger Staubachs, the Troy Aikmans,
Mhm.
these quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls are legends in the community. And so having that, it's unfortunate of a Danny White, or in the 80s being in championship games, not getting a Super Bowl. Tony Romo, all the great
Mhm.
years that he had, not winning a Super Bowl. That lives with you now as you go forward. And I think Dak Prescott realizes that. And I think that Mike McCarthy realizes that. I think he made the changes with the play calling because he believes it's like, listen, if I'm going to go down, I'm going down on my terms, not somebody else's terms. And so I think front office, head coach, quarterback clearly feel the pressure that you're talking about without the NFC championship games
Mhm.
and the Super Bowl wins.
Obviously, we're going into the preseason coming up this week, and we did not scrimmage another team here. That was
Right.
a choice by Coach McCarthy. Do
Right.
you think that going into the preseason, they're going to start throwing in a few of those starters to get that feel of you're playing another team right now?
Yeah, I think Mike practices, and this is in talking to people in the organization, the way that Mike practices, he's very mindful of the health of his team. And there's
Mhm.
been some coaches, I'm not saying that Jason Garrett or or Dave Campo or Wade Phillips or any of those guys where Bill Parcells were not mindful of the health of their team. I just think that Mike takes a different approach to it. Mike feels like, why do I need to work against another team if I can get the same amount of work? I got a defense that's super tough to throw the ball on or run the ball
Right.
on. Why do I need to travel to Denver or Seattle or Arizona or any of these places to work against somebody when I could get the work right here? So Mike is very mindful of that. And, the way that he handles the training camp or the preseason games, I'm not so interested in. I see Dak Prescott practice every day. I'm not so interested in seeing him play against somebody else just for the reason of I can't guarantee his safety right now. And I mean that
Mhm.
in a way of I can't guarantee what's going on with this offensive line. And Savannah, the more I watch the game or the practices, I thought, well, okay, questions at linebacker at depth, questions at running back at depth. The questions now are about the offensive line, and can I
Mhm.
can I assure Dak Prescott's safety if I play him one or two series in a preseason game? I don't know if I could do that. They're struggling at the right guard spot. It's clear that they're trying to work Terrence Steele at right tackle back into the mix more. So how much is he going to play? Do you want to risk the health again of Tyron Smith? I mean, they need Tyron Smith to make it this whole year. They don't,
Mhm.
if they have to move Tyler Smith to tackle, now that's weakening the guard spots. It's just a big mess right now. And I just can't guarantee the safety of my quarterback until I can kind of figure out some more things. And by playing some of these younger guys, maybe you'll figure out that, like, okay, I can rely on this guy at right guard. Oh, I can rely on this guy at right tackle. I can rely on this guy at left tackle. And I think that McCarthy, to be honest with you, is absolutely handling it the right way because like I say, if his quarterback goes down, even though Dallas won 4 games last year with Cooper Rush, I don't think you want to make a habit of playing with your backup quarterback for multiple weeks during the season. And sometimes the preseason can lead itself into unfortunate injuries as we've seen in the past.
Mhm. I definitely think missing Zach Martin, it
Yeah.
just goes to show that we have to kind of put some of those starters into, perspective and
Right.
get some of those younger guys in to see what they can fill. Do you
Yeah.
anticipate Zach Martin coming back into the regular season? What are your thoughts there?
Wow. I tell you what, every day at practice, I would ask somebody that I'm just not going to say who that is. I don't want to but I promise me it's somebody And I
Mhm.
would ask every day about the Zach Martin situation as they walked onto the field. And, I got initially, I wanted to believe that Zach Martin was one of these guys that didn't want to get fined $50,000 a day. I just didn't think he would. I don't think that was something that he was interested in. I don't think anybody wants to lose $50,000 a day.
No.
And so, but I'd ask this guy, I'd say, hey, anything new on your guard? And he'd said, no, no, nothing new. And I'm like, okay, have a good one today. And okay, every day that was the same. But towards the end of camp for me, I could sense the frustration
Mhm.
because, it doesn't look clean out there. It just doesn't. It doesn't look, with Zach Martin out there, there is a difference. Him and Terrence Steele on that right side together, it's a different look in a good way, in a really good way. And right now it's not as clean as it needs to be. And, and talking with people in the front office, Jerry Jones, we were at the, his media party and he was adamant about, hey, this is what we got to do. And a
Mhm.
lot of it was, we've won games without, we didn't have Tyron Smith for a lot of the season last year. And I'm thinking, Yeah, Mr. Jones, but you had Tyler Smith, who you drafted and who did a great job. You don't have that luxury right now at right guard. You just don't. And so to me, it's you know, they're very much dug in. Now, I will say this, all my years of covering the Cowboys, I was with Stephen Jones at the Combine one year in Indianapolis, and this is when the Ezekiel Elliott contract was in question. And Stephen just right in front of all of us, DallasCowboys.com and Todd Archer and everybody else that covers the team says, this Zeke contract, it's going to start with the numbers that Todd Gurley gets. And you're going, okay, Todd Gurley's a $10 million running back, back then, and so you're thinking, why would he say that? Why, and I think the Joneses have kind of learned their lesson on this. They know that Zach Martin is a Pro Bowl Hall of Fame guard.
Mm-hmm.
They know that he's one of the best to ever play this game for the Dallas Cowboys, but they just can't come out and talk about it in a positive light. They can't use, I believe it's Tom Condon is the agent for Zach Martin. Hey, they can't give Tom the ability to walk in there and say, well, wait a minute, Jerry, the other day you told 105.3 The Fan that Zach is a Pro Bowl Hall of Fame guard. Why are you not paying him like one? You don't think you said he is? So I think the Joneses through the years have learned they have to be careful. The same thing happened with Dak. We want Dak here. We want, I feel like that they got to take a little bit of a tougher stance and not telegraph their real thoughts about Zach Martin, even though that you and I watch practice and we go, it doesn't look good over there. It's not good right now. And so I thought, Savannah, that he was going to be in a few days. I'm not so sure now. I'm not so sure. He's been comfortable letting this money get fined every day. It's well over $500,000 now, and that's money he's not going to get back. That's money that's going to be gone. And the Cowboys can come after, if he misses this preseason game, they can come after more money. And it doesn't appear to be like it's getting better anytime soon, and that has to be a worry to the Cowboys a little bit.
Give me some 3 players you feel right now on our team that are a little bit slept on, but you think that they're going to kind of bounce up into those bigger roles for us.
Yeah, it's interesting that when I was looking at going into the training camp, I mentioned I was worried about linebacker depth and I was worried about the running back depth. And I'm really pleased to where I've seen these running backs start to, they start to use them in a way they're like, okay, you're not. I mean, I got in trouble with Jerry Jones one time. I said, do you feel like you wasted some of Tony Pollard's career by not playing him earlier and playing him in a way? And, he wasn't too happy with me about that question, but he goes, well, I don't feel like we wasted it. And so I said, uh-oh, here I'm about to get something I don't really want. But he was honest about it. He says, hey, we just got to figure out ways to get Tony more involved. And you're starting to see that with what Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer have done. They get Deuce Vaughn involved. They get Rico Dowdle involved. They're doing a really good job. Malik Davis of, you see stuff with Tony, but you're starting to see, like when I said, throw the football to Deuce Vaughn in the flat, throw him a screen, get him the ball in space and let him operate. And I think that's something I'm super happy about because I just, the running backs, even though around the league, they seem to be a very devalued position. I come from an era where the running back was important, and I still think the running back is important. But all those guys I just mentioned to you, though, I like the way I've seen them develop as far as taking to the role that they're getting offensively. On the defensive side of the ball, the position that might be the deepest, and this might be the deepest position on the team, is what's going on at cornerback. And that's even without Jordan Lewis playing right now. That's, they've done a great job with, with Diggs. I know that he's a guy that everybody knows about, but, you just got to think about the guys too, that they've been able to this, like safety Wanye Thomas. I know I'm talking the corners, but I'm really talking about the whole secondary. Wanye
Mhm.
Thomas at safety I honestly, Santa, I didn't know who he was. And to watch him make play after play after play, Eric Scott, who they drafted from Southern Miss, has
Right.
stepped up and done a really good job. Nashawn Wright was an afterthought to me. I'm thinking, well, here's a guy that's got 1 foot in the parking lot. Him, Kelvin Joseph. At least Kelvin Joseph has something to fall back on, and that's his special teams. Nashawn Wright really doesn't have anything to fall back on. They've picked on him a little bit. He's given up some plays, but he's also made a lot of plays too. So this secondary as a whole, even though they lost some guys, Donovan Wilson, lose him very early in camp. Safeties are stepping up, the corners are stepping up, and it's a lot of these young guys that are doing that. And I think that's, if you look at the position where they might have a little bit of surplus, would be the secondary, and especially there at that corner. I love what I'm seeing from these kids.
As we start wrapping up camp, my last question for you, what is your highlight both on the field and then personally for you when you were out here in Oxnard?
Yeah, I think the highlight for me is that when, you know, I've been very, very critical of the quarterback. And, I've gotten in trouble on 105.3 The Fan talking about the interceptions and things like that. I know there have been some throws that he'd love to have back. I think there's been a lot of really good plays that have been made on the ball. But I like what I'm seeing on offense when it comes to how they're trying to scheme. And I mean scheme, I mean line up, move, be stationary, whatever. I like what they're doing with their players as far as trying to get that separation, get wide receivers on the move, make Dak have to hit receivers as they're running across, pick routes, rub routes. These are things that we didn't see under the Kellen Moore administration. More opportunity for the offensive players to get the ball in space and then make something after the catch. And so that is encouraging me. They ran a 2 point period the other day where they had 5 plays, scored on all 5 plays, didn't run the ball one time, all creative throws that got guys open. There have been times we haven't seen that from Kellen Moore and the group. Kellen Moore was very successful, had the fourth best scoring offense, had the first best scoring offense. They put up a lot of points, a lot of yards, but it's nice to see them take advantage of the type of personnel that can play in space and play on the move. And so the highlight for me is that I honestly see a difference in what the scheme is right now, as opposed to what it was again under that Kellen Moore administration. The defense has challenged this offense a bunch. They've challenged Dak a bunch. And I think that in the overall big picture of that, I think is really, really good going forward.